Discover Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free, Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
I'd like to welcome you to Stress-Free Living. I'm Ray Samich. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's my first honor of the morning to introduce all of you to my longtime co-host, radio colleague, dear friend and brother, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you today?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Outstanding today. Thank you. Always feel that way when we start our program because I'm stressed with my life, and I know that I will be less stressed when I'm done with the show, thanks to you. So it is always a high point of my day and of my week when we have the chance to get together. I want to welcome all of our Zoom guests that we have with us today and all of you, however you may be listening or watching us. And want to remind you that we're here for the long term by way of YouTube and the Stress-Free Living radio channel. So at any time, you can go out there and watch us or listen to us with a variety of many shows that we have out there for you, all titled individually. So you can choose the title that you may want to catch up on. And you can subscribe to that channel by simply pushing that button. And what happens is every time we post a new show, you will be notified in your email. And please feel free to share those too with others who may need any particular area that we discuss at any time. Ratanjit, today's topic is an interesting one because I've always been always interested in creation and evolution and all the different thought processes of science and spirituality, religion, how all that all goes together. Charles Darwin has been recognized by most people as being a very forward thinker. And there's some people that disagree with some of his theories, but for the most part, he's respected at least for his intelligence and his views on things and his ideas on things. And one of his most strongest theories is survival of the fittest, that in the natural order of selection, the natural order of who survives, it is the strongest, the fittest, the smartest, the most educated, the most advanced. Those are the people that make it. The strongest ones make it, and the other ones over time are left to the side. You, I know, in a recent conversation, kind of said that may not be right. So let's talk about it today. Why do you think survival of the fittest may not be accurate?
You know, I saw this show, 60 Minutes. I don't remember the date. And the show concluded survival of the friendliest. So they gave example of how dog ancestry is wolf. They come from the family of wolf. So there is one segment of wolf, they became friendly, rather than, so now we have, everybody has pets as dogs, and they are the best, known as best friend, human best friend, and so on. So basically, they are very friendly. They are not the stronger than the wolf. And wolf, right now, we are reducing them, and they are on a list of basically trying to save them. So that was very interesting. So it appears that if you have physical good health, you are more likely to live 100 years or 110 years or whatever it is. So your health is basically ultimately we don't understand where the true health is gifted to us. Sometimes we have to evaluate where does the good health, where does our strength lies. So this concept of the survival of the fittest can be looked into different ways. We misunderstood what are our strengths. So if we knew what are our true strengths, so this saying holds good. That strength would make you survive, but typically the strength is related to the physical strength, and many times that necessary is not the best. You have seen these athletes, or you have seen these people who exercise, the bodybuilders and all these. Many of them don't survive as long a life than the person who appears to be very skinny and very thin, and many of them don't even do much exercise. That, so it's a mystery that survival of the fittest has something to do with other than finding the true understanding our true strength, rather than relating our strength to what appears to be the brutal strength, right?
Well, I can just think of the people, whether they're celebrities that I'm aware of, or whether they are just people that are my own connections in my life. But if I really think about what is the fittest, and again, it's physically strong. I agree. That's what comes to mind, first of all, is the physically strong. But the number of athletes that have died at very, very young ages, I mean, 30s, 40s, 50s, that you see some of these specimens, these amazing body specimens with all of this hard work, and they pass away at a very young age. But also those that are very bright, very brilliant people that I know that, they've gone on to be excellent at whatever their career is, and they're very, I mean, you've often talked about how doctors, live one of the shortest career lives in general terms. I mean, their patients outlive the doctors that know so much about health. But that's also true for attorneys, and it's true for chemists and a lot of these other types of career paths that are, you have to be very intelligent, you have to be very educated. So I don't know if it's the stress that group of people have on them to excel and to lead and to perform and to become wealthy. I don't know what it is, but there seems to be something about people, whether they are mentally the fittest or whether they're physically the fittest, that doesn't have them survive even the average number of years that the human man or woman, typical man or woman, survives. So there's something to what you're saying. There definitely is the truth that just because you are the strongest or the smartest or the most educated or the most successful, it does not mean you're going to live longer. It also doesn't mean you're going to live happier with more joy and peace in your heart either. And boy, that's, now you've really got all these reasons not to want to be the fittest because you're not going to live a long time, and you're also going to be, have a lot of stress on you, and you're probably going to be miserable. So what are we saying? That we should all just stop striving for the best and just kind of chill out and relax in life?
If you realize when somebody is very intelligent, somebody's it makes them super sensitive, and they're aware of so many things, and they are aware of what can go wrong, because
True.
and they're always more under stress. They're constantly doubting everything, and people who are less intelligent, many times they don't worry about things, and they take things for granted. So now what happens is that we have done shows on intelligence. So there are IQ intelligence. You are able to you are gifted with so many intelligences. We have intelligence of somebody is very good in music, but not good in math and some of these other things. There are people who are very good in understanding other person. They have skills which are very good in social skills, but they're not very good with all the. So there are so many types of intelligence, and again, so fundamentally, what it boils down to is there is a thought process in us which generates right hormones, which reduces stress, which heals the body, which ultimately helps us repair the damage normal day-to-day living does to the human body. So if that thought process that is constantly available and generated within us, we ultimately have an amazing strength to live longer life. That thought process is thought process of gratefulness. So once a person who is very intelligent and basically they see things in a different way because I did this, I modified this, I deserve this, and basically worldly higher confidence, worldly higher ego, worldly higher state of your presence, and not understanding the idea of gratefulness. So gratefulness, once your mind, see, your human body is run by mind. Mind controls the health of the human body. So obviously, how your mind thinks ultimately controls how your body is healthy or unhealthy. So if you bring in the negative thoughts in your body, you are generating the negative ideas into you. So this show, which I mentioned initially, survival of the friendliest, the survive in our human life, a person who is friendly, who is kinder, who is generous, generally sees the positive side of other person rather than seeing the negative side of situation or other person. And also, they are not part in their ego mode, which falsely assumes, falsely gives them a feeling of superiority and automatically sees others as inferior. So your friendliness, your kindness bypasses you. You cannot be friendly or kind until you understand that life is a gift to you, and life is ultimately whatever you have done in life, so many other things have helped you. Because fundamentally, this human body, if we don't have oxygen, cannot survive. You don't manufacture oxygen, it is available to you. We never thank the nature for basic oxygen. There is sun which comes out, and certainly sun, if it is no sun, so whole thing will freeze and we cannot survive. All these things are there for us, and that is why we are able to operate these things. And this human body itself generates everything generates his blood, it does all these things. It is a gift to us. It is gifted to us. The moment I become I, and I am better than others, ultimately, you are part in the weakest mindset. So although it appears to the world it is the strongest person who has very, very high confidence, he or she is certainly the weakest person. So the survival of the fittest, in one sense, it is true. But the fitness comes from parking ourselves into gratefulness, parking ourselves without ego. That is what makes you fit, right?
Yeah, it is definitely ironic that when we get the fittest in human terms, the person that goes into he decides or she decides they're going to get themselves in maximum shape and in superior shape. So they go to the gym and they work out every single day, hours and hours, and they create this, amazing physique and this low body fat and all of these other elements that make them superior, if you will, to 99% of the other human beings that are around them because they're just such a perfect specimen. Something happens then for many of those people that I have seen go through that, where before they were very much appreciating everything around them and acknowledging that they need other people and they need, as you mentioned, oxygen and sunlight and things like that. But once they become that incredible specimen, now their ego takes over where they don't need anybody. They really do feel, that they are better. And the same thing with a lot of people that, go on for a lot of education. I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of people that have gone on to get their degrees, multiple degrees, and now they just kind of have that approach that, they're smarter than everybody else, and that makes them superior. I've witnessed this so many times in my life, and it's, what you're saying actually says that they've become, by becoming the fittest, whether it's educationally or whether it's physically or whether it's in any other way, by becoming the fittest, they've maybe become disconnected with society. Maybe they've become disconnected with the divine power, that where the real power comes, where the real fitness comes from. We think it's kind of sad because we think that by becoming so special at something, by becoming so good at some area on this earth when we're here, we're going to be improving ourselves. And in some cases, that's true. But in many cases, it actually makes us weaker. It disconnects us from the world. It's how do we get both? How do we do both, Ratanjit? How can we be the best person that we can be in any one area and yet still also be the fittest in terms of the person we were designed to be? I'm going to let you think about that because I realize that we are time for our first break. So we'll come back and we'll give you a moment to ponder that question. How can we have it all? How can we be the fittest without the stress and be in the best position to, really control our destiny by becoming very good at certain things in our life? We'll come back with that question and hopefully the answer. This is Stress-Free Living. We'll be right back. Okay, we'll turn on here. And we are at break. If anybody has a quick thought or a question for Ratanjit, now's the time.
So, Steve Marsh speaking.
Yes.
So, in my mind, obviously there's two types of fitness. There's the physical fitness that you're talking about, people work out, and there's psychological fitness or mental fitness. So right away, you have two different types of fitness. And I think what Ratanjit's saying is it's all about providing value. And the reality of Ray is there are people who are fit physically who don't live a long time, and some who aren't fit physically and they live a long time. There are people who are kind and wonderful. You know, Billy Joel said, only the good die young. They're kind, they do all the right things, and they die because they get cancer at an early age. And there's some people who are mean and heartless and they live longer. So I think this whole term about survival, I think it means living your best life every day. But I don't think either guarantees a length of time, quite frankly.
All right, good point. We'll come back with that.
Good point.
Kim or Dr. Jagjeet?
Before I was educated, I really idolized people who were educated, and I separated myself from them because I didn't feel like I qualified to be in their presence. And once I got educated, I recognized we're all bozos on the same bus.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I love it. I've never heard that expression. I love it. I'm going to steal that one, Kim. Very nice.
What about those people claiming to be the religious leaders and knowing knowledge? They have the best knowledge, and especially when they become leaders in any form, the ego immediately goes up.
Yes.
We are back on Stress
And
Free
maybe they
Living.
are
Thank you so much.
politicians or economists or anybody.
We are back on Stress Free Living. Thank you so much for joining us today. Ray Samich with you and Ratanjit Sandhi. We're having some very interesting, enlightening, and humorous conversations with our Zoom guests. And if you'd like to be a part of that, the link is found out there on our Stress Free Living radio channel, or you can contact us. We'd be happy to give you that link so you can join us live on a Zoom anywhere around the world. We're international, of course, in that regard. Ratanjit, some good points that were made here by our guests, and we're going to get to them. But I'm going to ask you the one that I left you with just before the break, and that is it possible to have it all? Is it possible that we can attain physically the strongest, and be the strongest, and be the fittest, and we can also do that educationally, or we could do that financially successful, or we can do that with an incredible family and an incredible lifestyle? Can we do that and yet also be grounded, stay grounded, and be friendly, to use the 60 minutes term? Can we be friendly and fit at the same time?
You know, one of the basic aspect of life is, doesn't matter how fit we are or how long we live, we all have a short life, whether it is 50 years or 100 years or whatever it is. So we all have to die. So it is, what happens is, even your lifespan is 100 years, but you don't live 100 years. Sometimes a person who lives 50 years live longer than 100 years. What happens to us is we go through life, part ourselves in past or future. We either worry about things or we are hoping this will happen. We never really live. Living only happens in the present. And once we live life, and only way to live life, to park in the present, is to be aware of the reality. So the reality is that everything is given to us as a gift. So automatically, When you see beautiful day, you are grateful. When you see nice friends, you are grateful. When you see beautiful home you enter, you are grateful, because none of these belong to you. They are all being gifted to you. If you come up with an idea which is groundbreaking, you are grateful, because it happens through this gift of mind which is given to you, this gift of human body which is given to you. So once you develop this habit, so again, in earlier shows, we have said that we don't live our knowledge, we live our habits. So once you develop these habits of constantly seeing everything as being grateful, and constantly think yourself being grateful, even if you have a nasty thing happen to you, there are still ways to think which are grateful. So one of the things is that in our life, we have been brainwashed that they're good and bad in life. We certainly qualify certain things as bad. So whenever that happens, your mind says, oh, something bad has happened. We don't look at everything as a neutral and see the opportunity present in good and bad to create true happiness, which happens to you, us, which gifted to us by serving, by adding the highest value under those situations. Because it's not by taking the material things or having good tasting food or having beautiful home or beautiful car, the happiness that is temporary. The true happiness, true joy comes to us by adding value unconditionally. And for opportunity to add that value, you have to be utterly grateful. So once this whole thing, whatever life's experience are subjected to us, it always generates gratefulness. It always generates opportunity to add the value to create our true happiness. Once that happens, you become the strongest entity, and not necessarily you live long life in terms of years, but you live a truly long life because you are in the present. Every moment you utilize. You know, when you are children, the time passes very slowly. When you are older, time passes very quickly. Have you thought why that happens? Because children are part in the present. Older person is always worried about what happened to him, what is going to happen. So you're never part in the present. You live life, the length of life comes to you by living in the present, not necessarily living in the past or in the future. Right?
There's so many different branches that we can take off the tree that you just grew for us. In terms of length of life, you know, I've come to believe that there is no coincidence, that there is a plan. Everything around us has a plan and a purpose and a reason. And since we are all going to die, I mean, that's just a part of the world that everybody knows. We were only here for a short period of time. I think the purpose of that to me is that when we see other people die around us, when we get the news that a celebrity that we really enjoyed watching in the movies, or we enjoyed playing baseball, or somebody close to us, a relative or a friend that passes, it has to impact us in a way that makes us realize that our lives are also going to end. And I think there's a purpose to that, to make us realize that, okay, I need to enjoy my life because it has a limit. I need to realize that, no matter how hard I work, or no matter what problems come across my life, or whatever it is, there's going to be an end to it. And, sometimes when you look at people that die, very tragically and suddenly in a car accident or an illness at a young age, while the first thought is, oh my gosh, that's terrible, it's horrific, it's tragic, it's sad, it doesn't have a purpose, it also is a reality that says that can happen at any time. And we need to be aware that life is fragile, life is limited, and life is not going to be here forever. And it could go at any time. To me, maybe just because of your influence, Ratanjit, the answer to all of those is gratefulness. The answer to all of that is to say, I have to be grateful for what I've had and grateful for what else I have in front of me, because it doesn't, anger and sadness and depression and all those other kind of responses to that reality don't have any value whatsoever. They just make you miserable. But if you put yourself into a state of gratefulness with that reality, it's like, okay, this is the way it is. So let's make the very best of it. And the way to make the very best of it for me is to say, I'm extremely grateful for what I've already had. And if I can get one more day, I'm going to be even more grateful, let alone one more week or one more year or one more decade. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. What happens is this: we put every emphasis on this length of human body's life. So we first of all free ourselves from this fear of death. So ultimately, once we begin to realize that this human body is a gift to us, so it's like a beautiful car which I suddenly somebody, my father has gifted me, and I enjoy driving and I enjoy showing. And there are two aspects of that car. One is taking pride and showing everybody that I have this, and it's all ego-driven. So other aspect of that car is utilizing that car in adding value, going where you need to go, and traveling and helping other people reach where they need to reach, utilizing this car in the best possible ways, rather than being so gratefulness happens when I am always utilizing this car in adding value, rather than showing off that I have this car. The same thing, this human body is no different than car. Sooner or later, this car is going to age and it's going to become less useful. And same thing with this human body. So human body is not us. We live in this human body. It is very important that we do not relate our lifespan to this human body. Lifespan is only of this human body, not us. We are the force which is enlivening this human body. We were there before we enter this human body. We will be there after we leave this human body. So death does not happen to us. So we free ourselves from the fear of death and suddenly focus on this instrument gifted to us to do what? To add value. Just like the car, you are taking some sick person to other places, helping people who need conveyance. So similarly, this human body is the instrument given to us to add the highest value. So instead of building the muscles and showing that I have this beautiful human body, you maintain this human body in its optimum shape because it is going to help you add the highest value. So suddenly, instead of indulging this human body, you are serving this human body, because by serving, you have full utilization of this human body. And all this while you are parked in utter gratefulness for the gift of this human body, right?
So you've kind of given me a formula there. And I jumped in my last comment to the middle part, but you took a step earlier and you said to the reality of eliminating the fear. And in many shows, we've talked about how fear and greed are the dominant characteristics of most people, if not every person in our life. I mean, we don't even realize it, but we do so many actions based on fear and greed. And maybe we don't think of those two words, but if we really think about, how we always want more, how we're always afraid of certain things happening, we really live in that paradigm. Most of us live in the paradigm of fear and greed. If we can eliminate the most dominant fear, the most human possible fear that we have, which is of our own survival, of our own existence, if we can really take that off the table and live our life without that basic fear, and that is the fear that we're going to be gone, we're going to non-exist at some point. When the human body takes its last breath, we, as we think we are going to be gone. If we can remove that fear, that basic fear, that is such an incredible, empowering transition for us to have. I mean, I don't think there's anything that could be taught to us that we could learn that is more powerful than the fact that saying, we really won't die. We really will exist forever. Now, it's as a spiritual being, not in the human body form, but the real us will exist forever. There's nothing more empowering than that, and there's nothing that will remove fear more than that understanding. So you've taken it back to a real, the most foundational thing I think that can give us the chance to launch our lives without that most dominant fear that most of us live in. Even if it's subconsciously, we live in that state of fear. So you've taken care of that, which, is so empowering. And then secondly, now, what do you do with it? Now, once you realize that you are going to live forever, then living in a state of gratefulness for the fact that we maybe are here forever. Maybe that's the first part of it, is that, okay, somehow we were gifted this eternal life, spiritual. And then secondly, we've got this period on earth in a human body with the ability to do amazing things. There's double reason there to live our life in gratefulness. I mean, those two things, eliminating the fear and adding the gratefulness, are so empowering. I mean, isn't that really the definition of the fittest? I mean, right there, isn't that, if you have that reality, that makes you the most fit?
Yes, that is the true strength we have. And that ultimately generates so many other qualities through you: kindness, positive thinking, adding values. All these things automatically happen once you are part in gratefulness. Because if your uncle as a child has given you beautiful toy, you want to do something for him, right? You want to be grateful to him. And you want to express your gratefulness by making him a cup of tea or do something. So similarly, the nature has given us this gift of life. And the nature exists around us in the form of friends, family, and nature. And we must serve them. This universal nature which is present around us in these various forms, we must add value to them because we are so grateful for this human body gifted to us. Ray, you want to take a break?
We need to take a quick break. We'll come back and got a few more thoughts there for us to share and a few more questions to ask. This is Stress-Free Living. We'll be back in just a moment. Oh, that's pretty important for me to hear all that. Thank you, Ratanjit. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions? Dr. Jagjit, I apologize for cutting you off there before, but I heard the music playing. So if you'd like to start, go ahead, or if anybody else.
No, that's fine, no problem.
Okay.
I understand. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Are you talking our head off, or are we making any sense?
Goes
No.
back to
Uh-oh.
one, I think. The
Go ahead,
concept
Kim.
of oneness, we're all connected. There is no separation.
Yep.
When we get that, then we can have a higher level of appreciation for the collective experience.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Steve, anything to comment real quick?
I think it all comes back to doing what you can for others with whatever time you have on the earth. And so survival is sort of immaterial.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, you've given me a few angles to go down here. Thank you. Guest Sandy is trying to join us.
Yeah, my cousin.
Okay. Welcome back to Stress-Free Living. Yours truly, Ray Samich and Ratanjit Sandhi with you today, talking about survival of the fittest with a question mark. What really does it mean to be the fittest? Is it the strongest, the smartest, the most educated, the most successful? What does it mean? And are those the people that are going to survive the longest or be the happiest? Or is it, there's a great song that says, don't worry, be happy. Is it just the people that don't worry about anything and don't necessarily strive to be the very best at anything, but they just enjoy life? That's what we've had the conversation on. I've had a number of different thoughts that have already come through. Ratanjit, we don't have a lot of time left, but where does the oneness fit into this whole equation? Is it, if we have eliminated the fear of death because we realize we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So if we've taken that off the table, which is so dramatic, and if we park ourselves in gratefulness that says, I'm not going to have expectations anymore of what should have been or could have been or will be or might be or won't be. I'm just going to live in a state of today, grateful for the sunshine and the air that I breathe. Where does oneness come into that? How does how does that reality of realizing that we're all basically the same, and we're all from the same source, and we're all the same life that's in you is in me, how does that fit into the equation?
What happens to us is when we presume that I am that supreme power, that I am still is dipped in ego. When this human body is a gift to you, what enlivens this human body is the power, which is universal power, which is the same power which exists in me and in you and everyone else, which is oneness. So I am basically an awareness of these two facts. One is the human body, which is gifted to us, and one is this enlivening power which comes in this human body, and I do not control that divine power. I'm basically an awareness of these two facts. So that is ultimately gives you even higher degree of gratefulness, because once you realize you are grateful for this human power to be within you, and you're grateful for this gift of human body which is gifted to you, both of these things are awareness of your basic being. So ultimately, that is a concept which is many of us cannot get our mind around it, because we are always thinking of something touchable, something holdable, something which you can feel this is mine or his or her. And this concept of his and her and mine is all ego created concept. And ego doesn't really exist. It basically is a exercise which, this human mind insecurity gives us. So ultimately, the security comes from the fact, and we basically are awareness, and awareness is dipped in gratefulness to ultimately we become nothing more or less than gratefulness.
I really appreciate the distinction you just made in your opening words here coming out of the break, Ratanjit, because we've been doing this show a long time, and there's still some people once in a while that come back to me and say, this is, Ray, this isn't true with your faith. This isn't true with you, with what you believe. And you make such a very clear distinction that says, we're not saying, and you're not saying that we are the ultimate power. You're not saying that we are God. Okay. And that would be a violation. If I suddenly believe that I'm God, that's insane by my thought processes of who I am. But to believe that I'm thankful for the human body, but I'm also thankful that I have been empowered by the divine to be able to be connected to everybody else in the world. Okay. It is just incredible empowerment that I'm also thankful for. I'm thankful for the human body, and I'm thankful for the empowerment that I have been given. But in no way are you saying, or am I saying, that we are the divine power, right? I mean, that is the divine, and we have been gifted with this empowerment of being connected with everybody. That's a big distinction to me that I am very comfortable with, to understand that I'm one with you and with everybody else, and I'm grateful for that. So with that knowledge, with that empowerment that we have for whatever life of time that we have on this earth, are you saying that, just doing what we can, as one of our guests here said during the break, just doing as much as we can is our fulfillment. It's adding the highest value that we can on a daily basis while we're here makes us the fittest. Going back to the Darwin principle, are we simply redefining what it means to be the fittest? And it's not necessarily the best, it's not necessarily the strongest or the smartest, but it's the people that have the grasp of our role here on earth is simply to add the highest value in a state of gratefulness.
So to understand this, let's take the example of a corporation, a business.
Okay.
Now, so many businesses survive for a short time, and they eventually, for some reason or other, they fail. So two things. A typical business expert asks you to write a mission and a statement and a vision. So when typically a mission is, I am the best producer of this product. This is I want to be the best in this technology. I want to be best in this service. So that's why you see. So that itself makes you obsolete, because sooner or later that technology and that service is going to become obsolete, because there are better technologies, better things are going to come in our way. So our mission statement should be, I want to add the highest value to my customer, to the environment. So now 3M started with mining. What are they doing? They are making thousands of different products in every aspect of life. Basically, they are adding value in these fields. Their mission statement is not to become best in one product or one technology. So similarly, to survive in business, you have to continuously focus everyone in the organization to add the highest value, to reinvent yourself. Now, the irony is your brain, your education, when you're adding making your best better is driven you to add the highest value. Highest value means you constantly improving your best. So if you are honest with yourself, your education, your experience, your brain power is going to give you the best. If you are already exhausted all your knowledge, all your intelligence to produce the best, how are you going to make the best better? You have to reach within you to that divine power, which has unlimited wisdom, unlimited knowledge, unlimited intelligence to make your best better. So constantly you have to reinvent yourself by utilizing the power within you, right?
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful thought. And when you realize that you need that removes your own ego too.
Yes.
You know, simultaneously then it says, okay, this is more important than anything that I can do in my human existence. I need to draw upon that divine empowerment to take this to this highest level. So automatically, you know, that removes the ego, because I realize I can't do it myself. I need more than that.
Absolutely.
What a beautiful way to end that whole thought process. Did you have one more quick thought?
Yeah, basically, we constantly say adding the highest value, adding the highest value. Adding the highest value is part in making your best better. Otherwise, you cannot add the highest value. So whatever you have produced, it has become mediocre. So you have to now take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for us to take it to the next level, you have to get the blessings and involvement of the supreme power which exists within you.
Yeah.
Right.
And put your own ego aside in the process, which is perfect. Ratanjit, thank you so much for sharing all of your thoughts on what survival of the fittest really means and how we can be friendly and loving and giving and serving and grateful in that entire process. Thank you for sharing your thoughts and love with us here today. Thank you for being with us today for our program. We hope that we have added value to your life. Remember, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day.
Thank you. And we
All right.
are now open for all of us to unmute yourself and give us your feedback and questions and everything. Welcome, Jugesh. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. But
Yes, I also feel enlightened to join. For the last 3 weekends, I've been missing. I was traveling or family involvement were there. Anyway, it's good to see that you have touched the enlightenment within yourself to be the tool or the technique to enable oneself to produce better than what we are. That's encouraging to know.
Very good.
And one thing I feel, you talked about corporation. Since I'm involved currently with the construction industry here on the highways and expressways, I feel there is a rat race to complete the project in time rather than devolve the attention for the better product. That's typical of the attitude here the engineers have in the developing country. I don't know how to get around and teach them or guide them that, well, look here, quality is much required than completion in time. This is the dilemma the entire project team has in India nowadays. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's very important to understand this process of adding the highest value. Now, because in one sense, this thought process never gets completed because you are making your best better constantly. So when in a particular time, if you need to feed somebody, you make the best food possible and feed them because you are satisfying a hunger, which is the same thing with the project. So you have a time frame to complete a project. So you do your best in that time frame, but constantly make it better on the ongoing basis. You set a procedure and a plan to continuously improve that, because we cannot drop that project suddenly and we feel that it is completed. So none of the project is ever completed. Yes, we have to meet some timelines to hand over a certain form of project to be utilized, because it's just, if it's not finished, so forever we are going to add value. We don't have the utilization of the benefit of the project which is going to give to the customer. So there is a time frame in which you have to deliver your best, and after the time frame, you continuously engage your team to make it better.
Yes, that answers, I would say partially. I think it's more of the culture of the country and the ethos in that country. Now, Japanese, as I understand, has their Kaizen system wherein they continuously improve, especially in the automobile industry.
Yes.
And so, but so they do a lot of planning. Now their engineers are here in India for the high-speed rail project. Whereas for the expressway projects, we are doing the same old-fashioned style. Let's complete the project, get out of here, and deliver to the client. Let's take care of the quality in the maintenance period. So the delivery of the project gets stalled, doesn't get stalled, but it's a poor product in the to start with. That's the whole dilemma. Now the project manager has to be more efficient, or the entire team has to be more evolved to make them work together with quality consciousness.
Yes. You know, there was a very interesting interview, maybe 20 years back. I don't remember the now exact time. So there was an interview of a US CEO of a car company and a Japanese CEO of a car company.
Okay.
So US CEO, when he was saying that this is the product we make, this is the best in the market, this is we are very proud of it, we have this. And when a Japanese came, he said that this is the product we make, but this has these defects, this we are trying to improve this, we are trying to improve this, we are trying to improve this. But American guy never said we are trying to improve this. So their mindset of we have made it best, we give our best.
Right.
So that is why what happens eventually, it translated into bankruptcy of General Motors at that point. Remember?
Yes.
And U.S. government has bailed them out. So the consequence of leaving your effort to what you call as best is nothing but mediocre. And you are going to sooner or later build your own demise into it. But unless you are aware of certain things which you want to improve, but you don't have a complete solution how to improve that, you are constantly evaluating, doing research, making effort to improve your last best to better, you have more chances of existing. So ultimately, your real competition is not outside of you. Your real competition is your last best.
Yeah, quite right. Yeah. The last mile connectivity in a project, I think maximum sometimes efforts are done to complete the project. And there the whole culmination of the experience of past way of working of the leader matters. So
Yes.
I have seen that happen. Well, thank you for these kind words from your side.
Thank you.
I think that would make a very good show. We've done a lot on adding the highest value, but I think in today's world, not only in construction, if I may share this, but pretty much anything in life, we're talking today about getting things done quickly. I mean, most of the inventions over the last few years have been on how to get things done more quickly, more efficiently, and our whole lifestyles have changed, especially adding the impact of COVID, of how we've done things without human intervention, how we've replaced things with the internet and the computers and everything. I think that discussion on quality versus efficiency for dollar's sake and hitting deadlines because of budget reasons, I think that's really a good conversation to have, Ratanjit. I mean, how do we structure ourselves in today's world that is based on time, getting things done quickly, and based on meeting budgets? How does that relate to the idea of adding the highest value? It's I think it's a real world conversation right now that would be worthwhile discussing. So maybe we do that next week.
Okay, send me a title. You are good
Okay.
with words.
How am I going to put that into 5 words for a title? But I'll do my best. Jogesh, so
Yeah.
please join us next week. I think we can talk for
Sure,
much more than just a few minutes on
Yes.
it.
This
Okay.
is the biggest dilemma of the project managers on a big ticket construction projects, to get the
Yeah.
project in time, within budget, and with quality. So the age-old problem, and still continues. And it depends on the efficiency of the project leader, how to get these things working. So this is the biggest thing I've seen. And quality is sometimes forsaken for the speed of completion. So yes, if we can have good thoughts on that, it will be worthwhile.
Thank you.
We
Join us next week.
We want to
Sure,
have
I will.
feedback from Dr. Jagjit and Kim. Please, you have been quiet.
I appreciate being here and being in the conversation. And, you know, my business is like farming. And I don't always see immediate results, but I'm inspired when you say that the way to have business success is to continue to add the highest value. It's so simple, but it's easily missed. I've missed it. And it just gives me joy that I know I'm on the right path if my intention is to generate highest value always. So thank you so much for the conversation.
Yeah. We have to remember that our best is always mediocre. So we have to improve it. Dr. Singh?
No, everything is fine. Because the title of the topic was Survival of the Fittest, though it was genetically that way, but we transformed into psychological and mental. That's good. And basically, how the society survives, it is basically psychological. It is not based on physical health, though the environment plays an important role in maybe the development of species, but for the last 100 years or 5 or 1,000 years, we have not seen much change in those types of things. But as far as the sapiens are concerned, we people, it is more of a psychological. And as we in Sikhism, I think I don't know the word, we call it Chardi Kala Vich Rehna. You can explain it better if you, I don't know how to do it in English.
Positive.
But the positivity, most probably thinking positive and that way.
Yeah.
That is the best way. That's all. It was nice conversation. Thank you.
Our happiness or true joy always comes from when we solve a problem. So one of the problem is making your best better. So when you're able to do that, you feel better. And for a while you feel, but then you continually improve that. So in order for us to continuously improve that, there's another element which is part in oneness. And that element is that if you again look at the corporation, a CEO of that company, her skills are less than the head of the department of that organization. Head of research knows more about research. Head of finance knows more about finance. Head of marketing knows about more marketing, and so on and so forth. So why she or he is a CEO? Because he collectively utilizes these talent of these people to add the highest value in a product or a concept or an idea which he markets to the the bigger people. So ultimately, in oneness, we can ourselves only do limited. We can improve that better when we form a team. So we have to always be mindful of that, to always seek help and involve other people to help us to add the highest value. So we are not alone. The universal force exists in all these people. And when we are utilizing the universal force, we have to understand the universal force which is present in all these people. And there is uniqueness in the body structure because each human body has unique talent, and we must utilize those unique talent and divine power to add the highest value. Right?
All right. Dr. Jekji, just a quick comment. You said we transformed on this show. We transferred from the physical fittest to psychological and everything. But I think Ratanjit really quickly in the beginning of the show pointed out that
Right.
some of the
So we
athletes and
pointed,
stuff
but that is a genetics point. Darwin's theory is a genetics point of view, and based on environment and evolution.
Yeah.
And we are not talking on those lines. We are talking about the now how the society is being involved and everything.